It's time for AI News, brought to you by AIAW Podcast.
So, time for some middle break here, and we're just going to have a small section where we speak about some recent news articles that happened, and each one of us can pick one or two articles that we want to speak about. And we're trying to keep it short, a couple of minutes per article. We usually fail, but we'll do our best to keep it short. Anyone that wants to go first? I have one favorite article for sure. I have some others as well, but one that I love to speak about. Anyone else that wants to go first, or should I try?
You do it.
Yes. So, DeepMind, of course, once again, but they came out with an article about AGI, and trying in a scientific way to properly define what is really AGI, artificial general intelligence. And I have really lacked that kind of definition. And it also comes back to you, Magnus, dislike of AI as a term, because it's so hard to define. But now, finally, someone is properly trying to define what AGI really means. So they did it by trying to, for one, compare different definitions of AGI. And yeah, I'm not going to go through all of that, but they did it in a way similar to self-driving cars. So in self-driving cars, you have like 5 levels of self-driving, where level 5 is full self-driving without even having the possibility for a human to take control, and you don't even have a wheel or gas pedal to take control with, and it's probably fully automated. So then they defined these kind of levels of AGI, and they compared narrow AI to general AI. So they have like a table, and then saying level 0 is no AI at all, and then level 5 is like superhuman AI. And basically level 1 is something that's better than an unskilled human, and then you have level 2, you're better than the 50th percentile, like an average human, of skilled humans. And then you had something above 90th percentile of skilled people, and 4 was like 99% of all people. And then level 5 is basically 100%, better than any human ever. And they said for narrow AI, we do have level 5 AIs. So they said examples like AlphaFold, doing protein folding, for example, is significantly superior to whatever any human can do today. And Stockfish and AlphaZero, like playing chess. There is no way that any human ever could beat a machine today in playing chess. So there is clearly some level 5 AIs out there when it comes to narrow AI, very specific tasks. But for AGI, for general intelligence, they say that it's only level 1 today. So for level 1, which is the level 0 is basically no AGI at all. So they do think there are some general AI, but only on level 1. And that is basically the ChatGPTs and Bards and Llama 2s and these kind of large language models that we have today. So they basically saying that at the AGI level, we are basically we're better than the somewhat unskilled human in general tasks. And I think that's a really interesting thing. I hear some people saying that ChatGPT is already, AGI is here. No, it is not. And I certainly don't think so myself. I'm not sure, what do you think if ChatGPT is an AGI already?
So do you mean that this is the definition, you have to be on a certain level to be considered as a
proper AGI would be that we have level 5 AGI, and we only have, according to this paper, level 1 AGI. So better than an unskilled human, basically. And I think that's interesting. Mm-hmm. And then they had another scale as well, which is more autonomy. So then they had level 0 to 5 as well when it comes to, this is the AGI levels. But then they had another one further down the paper speaking about autonomy. And I think this is actually even more interesting, potentially, saying if you have autonomy level 0, then no AI is involved at all. Humans do everything. And then when you go up the levels at level 5, you do have the full self-driving experience. Basically, there is no way that human even is involved. Yeah, here it is. There is autonomy level 5. So that means that it is completely autonomous. No human is involved in the process of doing something. Now, when the reason I think these autonomy levels are interesting is I think autonomy is harder than general tasks.
Mm-hmm.
I potentially think that a full self-driving car like a Tesla that is getting increasingly autonomous is certainly not at level 5, but to have not only perception, I think the ChatGPTs basically have an awesome world model. They have an awesome perception, ability to understand text in different ways, which is really awesome. But it's just the perception. If you want to do something, you also need to plan something, to have the reasoning to plan something, and you need to control something. So for a car, you have the perception, the cameras, and you can turn it into vector space, as Elon Musk calls it. And then you have the planning, and then you have the control. And in version 12 of the FSD, they basically have neural nets for all of that. That is getting something closer to something that is AGI in terms of they can do any task.
Yeah.
So my favorite way of testing this is basically to say, if I can't think of a single task that the AI can do better, then we have AGI. Today, it's super simple to say, what can ChatGPT not do? Well, it can't, cure cancer, or it can't go out and write a treatment plan in a good way. It can't. It's so easy to find, so many different things it cannot do. So it's so far away from having AGI at level 5. So, and especially if you connect it to the physical world, to robotics, something that is embodied in the physical world, which is super hard. Then, Tesla actually do have a car. They even have the Tesla bot, which is a humanoid robot. So they have also the connection to the control aspect. So they actually have connected the perception, the planning, and the control, but for a narrow task. Anyway, I think it's super interesting to have this kind of finally some scientific definition and reasoning about what is really AGI and how far have we come so far.
That's really interesting. So is it useful, do you think, with this kind of definitions when working with things you do?
I think it's getting more and more useful to...
We like AI terms?
Yeah.
Working with science?
Yeah, exactly. No, if it's based on science, I think it's good, of course. I think I need to contemplate a little bit about these kind of, all these levels and the different scales, but... and also, I think, I'm not sure, what is the purpose of having or thinking about AGI? I mean, for me, it's like, is there a use of at all? I mean, practical use of thinking about it? I mean, for me, it's like, can we create the artificial general doctor? Or, I mean, and that is, it's not general, but it's kind of semi-narrow kind of thing. So I don't know. I mean...
If you take a radiologist, for example,
yeah,
the AI that we have today that is narrow simply can look at a single image and do the segmentation, I guess.
Yeah.
But what you want to have is an AI that can be much more general, to actually do the proper diagnosis as well, to build up the proper treatment plans, to even speak to the patient and perhaps have what do you call it in medical term, the bed manners or the social abilities to have the proper psychological discussion with the patients as well.
It's like multi-functions in AI.
But I mean, that AI do not have to drive a car. Or I mean, there's like somehow it's kind of narrow, perhaps quite broad, but it's sort of limitations at least what it's supposed to handle.
Sometimes if you take the full self-driving car, we get stuck in this topic, but it's kind of interesting, I think. Some people claim that as you go to the limit in the time of self-driving car, it requires you to have a world model in some way. It requires you to not understand that you have cars in different lanes or that this is a pedestrian or whatnot. It suddenly requires you to know everything about the world to do proper full self-driving, because it is a surprisingly difficult task. And perhaps the same can be argued for a radiologist, that if you really want to have a doctor doing also the difficult edge cases that you have, it more or less need to have a full understanding of the world or a proper world model to do that. And then it becomes surprisingly general. Yeah. Even if you just want to drive a car or do a treatment plan and help a patient.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think I get your point, but I do see also that the more you come towards the sort of edge of what this sort of AI is supposed to be, the less likely it is that this will ever be used, or so I mean, self-driving cars, you need to understand the world around you and all these kind of things, and that there might come an elephant suddenly, and it's a very low risk, but it might come.
Or you have an ethical dilemma of here is a child and a dog, and I need to know which one to run over.
Yeah.
Suddenly it requires a lot of...
That's a hard question.
Right.
Yeah, so exactly. How would a human being...
Yes. Then you come really close, I think, to having like a general world knowledge and ethical knowledge to solve it.
Yeah.
But it's based on well, that's quite... It is a disturbing example. But if you are a human who doesn't like children and love dogs, I'm just saying...
Yes.
Yeah, I
strange
kind of understand that feeling.
Well,
I have 4 kids and 1 dog.
Yeah, I have 4 kids and 2 dogs.
Two dogs.
Oh, yeah. Interesting. Cool. When do you think we will have AGI, Magnus?
To be honest, never. Not in my lifetime, at least. I think that's a simple answer.
I think earlier, but much earlier.
All right. Cool.
What do you think, Louise?
Well, who lives will see.
It's a very diplomatic answer.
Yes, I know.
Cool. Do you have a topic?
Well, I had I ran over this topics from University of Stockholm. They had an information about a new project. They had science project about global steering of AI and the democracy challenges that there is. And I was so happy about this because I have really seeked for initiatives that doesn't talk about ethics in AI only in this kind of ethical questions that we just did, like children, dogs, or weapons, or automated processes. Actually, this project, they had got like 6.4 million kronor from Vetenskapsrådet here in Sweden, and that they will try to find some kind of a way to a framework, I would say, to help us see what kind of impact does this AI have on the society, and what kind of globally like the human rights do we need in developing AI, and also how does we pull the values in the society globally. And you were also talking about this summits that now arise, where you talk with governments and business and scientists talking about the implication of using AI in society. And this is one of the things that I have been missing for many, many years. Not only talking about AI from a data perspective, but also from a science, social science perspective. So I was really happy about this. And what are your point in that, Anders? Coming from this more data science and AI, have you also, as me, lacked the discussion in other areas in science, like those?
So let me see if I understood you correctly. So thinking of AI from a more social point of view, or thinking from AI in kind of, can you just elaborate a bit more?
Yeah, how it's a framework for governments, basically. So it's the ethic on and where and how to use AI and from a democratic point of view. Mm-hmm. So if you compare it to human rights, the human rights rise in our society from the 50s after Second World War. And we had a problem with how to make sure that everyone in the world has some kind of equal rights. And then there were no AI. So when AI arose and the use of data economy, and also the national boundaries are not not like they were. So when we see as a global citizens, so do we need a framework how to look for a more democratic way of using AI? Another example is that Sweden is a country that we have Magnus and we have Sahlgrenska and we have people like you working with AI in a certain way. But in Sweden we are quite.
So we want equal access, I guess, to the power of AI in some way, and people that do have AI will have large number of benefits that people that do not have AI in the future. And then the question is, should it be a human right in some case, or
and do we need human rights also when we talk about the use of AI and the data?
Yeah, tough question.
It's really interesting. I mean, there are so many sort of basic values that we need to discuss now. I mean, that we didn't discuss the last years, but like 1 year ago, we didn't discuss this, but now we do it because the development is happening so fast, and it's. I mean, what is? I think also like as a human being, are you entitled to have a work to go to that is, or if AI takes over or everything, that so there's just a few people that do something productive and all the others just float around or watching Netflix at home? Is that the society we want to have, or how would that affect individuals, or what is your right as an individual to go to work and do something productive? I mean, I don't know. There are so many things that could be discussed or should be discussed around this, which is.
What's your thoughts?
Well, I think that you can put this in also a perspective in where the world are heading, and I think that we need the world would really need a discussion about the morality in the use of technology to the benefits of both the environment, but also for humans not to kill each other, I would say, basically. But also that there are inequalities in how we use the resources. And if you want to, use a lot of batteries or other tech materials to increase the use of AI and tech and data, you're a quite rich country, and it affects the other parts of the global. So, of course, this is not only a question for Sweden or for Europe. I think that you should probably need some kind of framework and discussion about the ethics about using AI. Because if we do it in our hospitals, as we have been talking about this hour, then perhaps we would have a different labor market in the future. And other countries that doesn't have this way of having healthcare, they will be lacking behind, and we would use a lot of more resources. So one question is how do we prevent the world to be more unequal?
Yeah.
I know this is a big question, but we are drinking beer and having a nice conversation. But I think that's quite interesting. And what I really appreciate is that there are some science projects focusing on this, because we have had a lot of focus on applying AI and also those kind of ethics around weapons and autonomy or stuff like that.
Yeah, really good, like philosophical question almost. But I guess it will be potentially like a class differentiator in some way, the people with and without access to AI in some way.
Yeah, but I guess the adoption, I mean, I think about, we in Sweden or the Western countries, we have our healthcare system and everything is very rigid and very hard to change, whereas in I don't know, third world countries where it's not, but when you get sort of automation, you get an AI or an app which can help you with your disease. Basically, you can cure yourself.
Yeah.
Then the adoption will be much faster when it comes to, in Sweden it will take forever and ever. Yeah. So I think there's like also this kind of, it's not a divide, but it's not just
Perhaps we are the one who is going to be left behind.
Yeah, it might be. I mean, when it comes to banking, for instance, we had in Sweden we had this kind of, but whereas in other countries where the bank system was not, they immediately went to the mobile phone and had.
Exactly.
So there's like things happening.
You can leapfrog in some cases.
Yeah, exactly.
I think Africa was an example of that. They just skipped over the landlines and just went to mobile phones.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And China is a really big country, and they are using AI and tech in their society in a whole different way.
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
And we have this face recognition discussion here in Sweden. And we feel in our guts that that's probably wrong. But then the Internet Stiftelsen, they had a really interesting report now for some weeks ago. And they showed that I think it was nearly 50% of the Swedish population thinks that face recognition in camera society is a good thing.
Interesting.
And that's really interesting. So perhaps the values also are shifting.
It will be interesting to see correlation between last year's report and this year's report, because this year we have like quite a lot of as well reasons why people would like to have it.
Yeah,
right.
It was. I think that it was a shift in mind shift.
Because if you see, security has been a major news and a basically actual topic in Sweden this last year. So I think there is like a good correlation between that report and what is happening in society right now.
Awesome. I see we're speaking far too long at each news topic here. But
I'm sorry for that.
No, it was my fault. I spoke the longest, I think. Yeah. Magnus, do you have any news article?
I think mine was the explainable AI. So okay. I'm sorry about that. I didn't bring another one.
No, that's perfect. Gordon, do you have anything?
All right. So I will do a short news, several ones, so we don't have to argue on all of them. It feels like every episode, like we're doing commercial for 3 companies, and we're not paid for it. Right. Four, including Tesla, right? So yes. I think we should get paid just basically talking about these companies. But this is what is happening in the AI area right now. You have some of the giants just basically running, and we are just looking from aside and seeing what is going on. So these are the 7 actually news that I have, short ones. So it's a battle between Microsoft, OpenAI, and Google, I would say. So Microsoft, following the OpenAI announcement of basically every user to be able to do their own ChatGPT, which was called the OpenAI developer, I think.
Yeah, so GPT
builder, yes, exactly. So now Microsoft actually has done the same in the Microsoft Studio. So you have something which is called Microsoft Copilot Studio. So you will be able to do your own copilots in Microsoft. Continue with OpenAI. Basically, it's now official rumor that they're working on ChatGPT 5. We should be coming up next year, end of next year, 2024. The discussion regarding is actually, okay, so they're still bleeding money. So the money needs to come from somewhere. And I guess they will need to get a little bit more money from Microsoft in order to develop that, especially because of the latest rumor as well that they're trying to get recruits from Google, Meta, and different, especially from recruits offering packages up till from 5 to 10 million actually for people transferring from Google to OpenAI. So the war for talent is on open field right now. On a similar way, but a little bit, we were talking last week actually that nobody's talking about traditional AI anymore. So Google obviously is thinking about that very much. So I think it was yesterday or the day before, Google DeepMind presented a new traditional machine learning model that was predicting weather more accurately than everybody else. And you can actually have this on your computer. So this was quite exciting things to have. And if you see...
The first time we have a news that is not generative AI.
Yes, exactly. And I think it's so nice. And I think that there is something with this news that I was reading about Google is very interesting how they're implementing all of these new things in their products, reinforcing their products without actually being so loud. So for example, they updated Google Maps with 5 new features. So now you have immersive 3D view. You have search with AI in the Google. You have EV charging stations now in Google, so you don't have to search for them anymore. You have navigation AI enhancement, and then you have new augmented reality features that is added. All of that is not ChatGPT. Some of them are, or not ChatGPT, but generative AI. Some of them are traditional ones. And as well, they're looking to buy something which is called a company called Character.AI, which actually makes like characters based on an LLM model. So you can have your Elon Musk that is speaking with you.
Who wants that?
Well, I think it's if you look at what is going on. So Meta started building their own some characters. And Microsoft is doing the same, and now I guess Google is going to the same thing. And that was it from my side. So it was actually 6, it was not 7. So I'm done for this week.
It's been a week of co-piloting.
Yes, I think that everything that is happening right now is just LLMs, but surprisingly we had one traditional AI. So